So in this segment, we're going to be talking about Britain will be forced to buy back gas shipped to Europe, and we're going to ship it back at a higher price. So fun. Britain will be forced to buy back gas exported to Europe to keep the lights on this winter after supplying about 15% of supplies stored on the continent. And this is normal because the EU has massive stores for gas and we don't, EU member states anyways. The UK lacks gas storage, so we're used as a middleman effectively, and we kind of convert the gas into a different form. It's very weird. We import the gas and export the gas to EU countries. They, with their storage, keep it and sell it back to us in the winter for a higher price, as gas is normally more expensive in the winter because there's high demand, so a great business model for them. Unprecedented volumes of fuel have been sent to Europe via the UK in recent months as countries race to fill up their storage sites ahead after Russia strangled supplies. With little storage of its own, Britain typically buys back gas from the continent during the winter. This year it will leave the country exposed to higher prices and market havoc if Russia goes further, which they're already going pretty far. What happens if we do have a colder winter and other countries may not be in a position to export gas back to us because they're not going to be able to buy it from Russia? And if they give up their stores, it's going to make it worse for them. Or what happens when we're in a trade war with these countries, which Liz Truss is heading towards? What happens then? What if the EU say we can't sell you gas because we need it here, and they favour each other rather than us, which they're absolutely in their right to do so? Peter Thompson, a gas market expert on the consultancy Baringa, said effectively the UK's market stores gas in continental Europe, and then it's pulled back in the winter. It's not just pulled back though; it's owned by someone else, where they're in control of the gas. I think the statement he made there is, in my opinion, pretty wrong, because it's not like you're giving something away just to take it back later. It's not like a loan. It's a sale. So if they want to sell it back to us, they can. If they don't, they don't. That's normally what happens. But I think there's a question entering this winter. There's no business as usual position, which makes sense. The extent to which that happens is going to depend on all sorts of things: Russia's supply and how cold the winter is. Russia said its key Nord Stream 1 pipeline to Europe would not reopen as planned. Gazprom said the state giant blamed technical problems, but Russia is accused of weaponizing in relation over sanctions, which it definitely seems the case that Russia are cutting off Europe from gas in order to kind of starve us in submission, in a sense, not via food, but via the cold. Europe does not have enough liquefied natural gas terminals for its needs, so Britain accepted shipments at its 3 facilities on the EU's behalf over summer. We're acting like we're doing the EU a massive favour here, but no doubt we make a profit of this. The product is turned back into gas in Britain, piped over to Europe, which does not have enough LNG, so liquid, where's the word again? Liquid natural gas. So the product is turned back into gas in Britain, piped over to Europe, which does not have enough liquid natural gas terminals of its own. This is done via pipes to Belgium and the Netherlands. The EU sites are now 80% full. So during the winter, they'll be relatively okay, so long as it's not a very cold winter. Ian Radley, Director of System Operations at the National Grid, told an industry meeting last month the National Transmission System here in the UK has and continues to play a critical role in supplying the EU's ambition of refilled storage. Mr. Radley said the practical challenges of its involvement are dwarfed by the benefits of continued maximising export capacity, doing what we can as a nation to alleviate what could be which could be and continues to be a very challenging situation for everyone. The problem is we don't have the storage facilities for this stuff. Otherwise, we'd be buying enough to store it in this country as well in order to help us get through the winter. Aurora Energy Research says in normal winter, the UK can get as much as 25 to 30% of its gas supplies from the EU, which is a large amount. Between a quarter to near a third. For imports to flow to the UK, prices need to be higher than they are in the EU. So effectively, we need to pay more than what EU countries are paying for in order to get that gas back here. So what that means is we pay more for the gas. Why can't we just, store it in the UK? Well, the UK's gas storage was sold off a few years ago. At least large parts of the gas storage was sold. On cold days this winter, that could require exceptionally high prices in Britain, because we're going to have to tempt these businesses and countries in the EU to sell that gas back to us rather than keeping it for themselves or selling it to someone else, adding more pressure to households and businesses. Following more than a year of high gas prices, the gas price in the UK has doubled. If supplies in Europe worsens, there's a risk some countries will curb exports, which, that wouldn't surprise me either. If countries said, no, we're not going to export it, good luck. And why wouldn't they? Their main responsibility is to their constituencies, not us. Aurora Energy Research estimates the UK will need to import at least 10% of its gas from the EU this winter to meet demand, and that depends. A cold winter could push up that 10% figure. We've been lucky to have relatively warm winters in the UK, not that much snow. Ying Chin Chow, a senior analyst at S&P, said that for every 1 degree decrease in temperature can increase demand for gas for heating by 10 to 15 million cubic meters, which, again, these are terms we're not going to have a full understanding of because I don't work in the industry. Point being is that, we're going to require a lot more gas. The lower, just one degree causes a much higher demand in gas. She added demand can escalate quickly. S&P believes gas demand in the UK in any case will be about 15% less because of the soaring prices. That means people are not going to be heating their homes due to the cost, which means more suffering, and in some cases people will die due to the cold, because this is Tory Britain. Last week, Centrica won permission to reopen its Rough natural gas storage site in the North Sea, which closed in 2017. Why was it closed in the first place? Crazy country. However, it remains in talks with ministers about financial support for the site over the long term, and it's not set a date for reopening. So financial support of more socialism for a country that's making a ton of profit as is. Why is that? Surely the government should just take over it at that point, the gas storage, because we desperately need it even in the long term. John Redwood, the Tory MP, said it was a strategic mistake not to have more storage. I agree with him, first time for everything, but then he goes on to be stupid. He goes, I think more gas storage, but my number one urging for many years has been getting more of our own gas out of the North Sea and onshore where local communities get along with it. So, yeah, onshore means fracking. Good one, mate. That's FRA, if anyone on YouTube is listening, if I get demonetized. The UK position is a lot stronger than the German or Italian position, which were more dependent on Russian gas. I mean, they're filling up their gas storages. We're not. So how are we in a stronger position than Germany, who I think have around 80% storage now that they'll need for the winter? Madness. A spokesperson for business department said, when the market price is higher in Europe, gas flows to the continent. I mean, I suppose maybe they are paying more because they want to fill up their storage units, which makes sense. When the price is higher in the UK, gas flows back home. This is driven entirely by the market, not by the government. But if the government wanted to actually use the gas storage facilities, they could store it in the UK rather than selling it off to EU member states. Nothing personal. But if we don't want to pay abnormally high prices in the winter, why don't we just have more storage in the UK? And if you're importing, tons and tons of this LNG, you could easily do both. You could fill up the EU stores and our own. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's too much of a radical idea for this government. Yeah, the government could increase the amount of gas storage so that we're less vulnerable to price shocks. So, when the gas prices are crazy, we can just use our reserves to import less gas. Just a thought. Britain is at a strategic advantage compared to other countries in Europe. Give me strength. Bro, I can't, what a dumb statement. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.